The most expensive things you lose are the ones nobody can see. Have you ever finished a conversation and felt strangely drained, even though nothing bad had happened? No one argued with you. No one insulted you. No one took anything from you. Yet somehow you walked away feeling lighter in the worst possible way, as if a quiet strength had slipped through your fingers. Most people believe they lose energy because they work too much, sleep too little, or carry too many responsibilities. Those things matter. But there is another kind of exhaustion that is far more subtle. It happens every time you hand pieces of your inner world to people who were never meant to carry them. You explain every decision. You announce every plan. You defend every choice. You look for reassurance before taking the first step. Little by little, your life begins to sound more like a discussion than a direction. The Stoics understood something that our noisy world often forgets. Not every thought deserves an audience. Some ideas need silence before they need advice. Some dreams need discipline before they need applause. Think about the strongest people you have ever met. Chances are they were not the ones who spoke the most. They were the ones who carried a quiet certainty that did not depend on anyone else's opinion. Perhaps true strength is not found in saying more. Perhaps it begins the moment you no longer feel the need to explain yourself. Today, we'll explore 5 things that inwardly strong people protect, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. Every word you speak gives away a piece of your power. There is a reason some conversations leave you inspired, while others leave you questioning yourself. The difference is rarely the topic. It is the amount of yourself you gave away. Many people feel an almost automatic need to explain everything they do, a career change, a new habit, even a personal boundary. If someone looks confused, they rush to justify it. If someone disagrees, they begin defending it. Without noticing, they slowly place their peace in other people's hands. Imagine a young professional who decides to leave a high-paying corporate job. At first, the decision feels clear. But after explaining it to 10 different people, each offering a different opinion, certainty begins to disappear. Nothing about the decision changed. Only the noise around it did. The Stoics believed that the mind should remain its own governor. The more your emotional state depends on external reactions, the less freedom you truly possess. This doesn't mean becoming cold or distant. It means learning the difference between sharing from confidence and speaking from the need for validation. Silence is often misunderstood as weakness. In reality, it is one of the strongest forms of self-discipline. It gives your thoughts room to mature before they are shaped by expectation, criticism, or praise. You do not have to explain every chapter of your life. Some chapters become stronger simply because they were written quietly. The less energy you spend proving who you are, the more energy you have to become that person. And that is a trade worth making. Protect your plans before they become reality. There is a fragile stage between having an idea and becoming the person capable of living it. Most people underestimate how important that stage is. The moment a new goal appears, there is a temptation to tell someone. Not because the work has begun, but because speaking about it feels exciting. You decide to start a business. You tell your friends. You plan to write a book. You post about it online. For a brief moment, talking creates the comforting illusion that progress has already been made. But when the excitement fades, so does the momentum. The Stoics encouraged people to focus less on intention and more on action. A plan does not become meaningful because it is announced. It becomes meaningful because it survives the ordinary days when no one is watching. Think about planting a tree. You do not dig it up every morning to prove that it is growing. You protect it. You water it. You allow time to do what attention cannot. Your goals deserve the same patience. The modern world rewards visibility. Stoicism rewards consistency. There is a profound difference. One seeks recognition before results. The other lets results speak long after the work is finished. Quiet effort has a unique kind of confidence. It does not depend on encouragement. It is sustained by commitment. So the next time you feel the urge to announce what you are about to do, ask yourself one simple question. Would you rather impress people today or surprise them a year from now? Sometimes the strongest promise you can make is the one you keep entirely to yourself. Stop feeding your fears with other people's opinions. Fear has an unusual habit. The longer it stays inside your mind, the louder it seems to become. So naturally, many people look for relief by talking about it. They call a friend. They post online. They ask for reassurance from anyone willing to listen. Sometimes that helps, but just as often, it creates a different problem. Your fear no longer belongs only to you. It becomes mixed with everyone else's. Imagine someone who worries about leaving a secure job to start something meaningful. One person tells them it's too risky. Another reminds them of the economy. Someone else shares a story about failure. Within an hour, they are carrying fears that were never theirs to begin with. The Stoics encouraged a different response. Before seeking answers from the world, learn to sit quietly with your own thoughts. Not every emotion demands an audience. Some emotions simply ask for your attention. Fear is often less interested in stopping you than in showing you where you still feel uncertain. If you immediately drown that signal beneath other people's opinions, you lose the chance to understand it. Think of muddy water. If you keep stirring it, it never becomes clear. But if you leave it alone, the dirt slowly settles. Your mind works the same way. Stillness reveals what constant conversation hides. The strongest people are not fearless. They simply refuse to let every anxious thought become a public discussion. Sometimes, courage begins with saying nothing and listening instead. Let go without asking for permission. One of the quietest forms of suffering is staying somewhere your heart has already left. People do it every day. They remain in careers that no longer inspire them. They continue relationships built only on habit. They chase goals they stopped believing in years ago, not because they want to, because they worry about disappointing someone else. There comes a moment when life gently whispers that it is time to move on. But instead of listening inward, many of us begin looking outward. What will people think? Will they understand? Am I making a mistake? The Stoics would ask a different question. Is the life you are living still aligned with your character? Imagine carrying a backpack filled with stones. At first, the weight feels manageable. Eventually, every step becomes exhausting. Yet instead of putting it down, you keep asking everyone around you whether they think you should. No one else can truly answer that question. They cannot feel the weight you carry. Only you can. Letting go is rarely dramatic. More often, it is a quiet decision made after months or years of silent reflection. It does not require applause. It does not require permission. It requires honesty. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that living according to nature sometimes means leaving behind what no longer serves your growth. Not with anger, not with regret, simply with gratitude. Because every chapter has a purpose. And some chapters teach their final lesson the moment you are willing to close the book. The quiet confidence no one can take away. There is a kind of confidence that makes a lot of noise. It needs recognition. It depends on compliments. It grows stronger when people are watching. But there is another kind. You rarely notice it at first. It belongs to the person who continues doing the work long after the applause has faded. Think about someone who has spent years building a business. They no longer feel the need to post every milestone. They no longer measure success by how many people notice. Their satisfaction comes from knowing they kept the promises they made to themselves. That confidence is difficult to shake, because it was never built on attention. The Stoics believed that character is the only possession that remains fully yours. Money changes, status changes, popularity changes, but the habits you build and the principles you live by travel with you through every season of life. Modern culture often encourages us to broadcast every achievement, yet the strongest oak tree in the forest never announces how deep its roots have grown. It simply stands through every storm. Perhaps real confidence works the same way. It does not need to convince. It does not compete. It quietly becomes. And something unexpected happens when you stop trying to prove yourself. You become harder to manipulate, harder to discourage, harder to distract. Because your worth is no longer decided by the room you walk into. It is decided long before you arrive. When your peace comes from within, success becomes something you experience, not something you perform for others. The strongest presence speaks the least. Perhaps the greatest change in a person's life is not becoming louder. It is becoming quieter. Not because they have less to say, but because they no longer feel the need to prove who they are. There comes a point when you realize that not every opinion deserves your response. Not every misunderstanding needs to be corrected. Not every dream has to be announced before it has the chance to grow. That realization is not weakness. It is maturity. The Stoics believed that a peaceful mind is one that cannot be pulled in every direction by the expectations of others. The world will always invite you to explain yourself, to defend your choices, to compete for attention, to chase approval that disappears as quickly as it arrives. But none of those things can give you lasting peace. Only your character can. Think about the people whose presence leaves a lasting impression. Often, they are not the loudest voices in the room. They are the calmest. They listen more than they speak. They choose their words with care. And when they do speak, their actions have already given those words meaning. Perhaps that is the kind of strength worth building. A strength that does not depend on recognition. A confidence that does not rise and fall with praise. A life that feels steady even when the world becomes unpredictable. So before you leave today, ask yourself one simple question. What part of your inner world have you been giving away too easily? Your peace? Your dreams? Your confidence? Or your attention? Whatever your answer is, remember this. You do not have to share everything to live honestly. You do not have to convince everyone to move forward. And you do not have to be understood by everyone to become the person you were meant to be. Because in the end, the strongest presence is rarely the one that demands attention. It is the one that remains grounded, composed, and quietly unshakable, even when no one is watching.